Hey guys, so this is just a video I wanted to make real quick to show you a little bit about how we got to where I just posted the video before this, which is having the weapon switching enabled and having that coordinated with 8-way directional movement plus the turn in place animations. Just a quick overview of how I'm doing the weapon switching right now. This is the only way that I could really figure out how to easily manage the states and where we were in, like if we're equipping the rifle, what to do next if we want to equip the pistol, or if we're equipped with the pistol, we want to unequip the pistol. If we have nothing equipped and we want to equip one weapon, and then move from that weapon to another weapon and vice versa, and then back to the unequipped state. So the only way that I could really figure out how to do it so far, I'm sure there's a more elegant way to do this, but one of the ways it seemed pretty foolproof to me was to just, um, create the input event, press the button, so to speak, to equip a rifle, let's say, and then just do a bunch of Boolean checks to see where we were, and then branch from there. So, for instance, for the rifle, if nothing is equipped at all, then we'll just go straight through to playing this animation montage that equips the rifle, and then play the sound at the location based on that, and then if that isn't true, like something else is happening, so that means something else is equipped, then we'll check to see what that is. And so the first check is to see, well, if it's the rifle itself, you push the rifle equip button or whatever, and it's the rifle, then what that means is that you want to unequip the rifle. So we'll go straight into an unequip animation, play the sound, etc. here. And then if that isn't true, like the rifle isn't equipped, that must mean something else is equipped. And we'll just go through a series of checks. So it's the pistol or the knife. Those are the three options we have right now. So it's one of the two, right? So I just check the pistol next. And if the pistol is true, so that means the pistol is equipped, then we run through and we first unequip with this play montage and set the animation rate to be a little higher so it doesn't take so long to get between the animations, and then play a sound, after we do both unequipping the pistol and then equipping the rifle. Okay, and so so we just basically do that for each of the weapons that we want, right? So you can see that if we had a bunch of things and they had a bunch of very specific animations, this list can get longer. And so there's definitely, I'm sure, a much more elegant way to get through this, but this was my kind of more foolproof way of kind of sketching this out without getting too abstract and trying to track a bunch of Boolean states and then doing a bunch of not this or not that, and then wondering, well, is it true at this point or not true? So this gets me around that. It's just very legible. So pistol is equal to false is a lot more legible than pistol equipped not true, therefore blah blah blah. So this was a really easy way for me to sketch it out, because I could just look at these states and say, okay, pistol equipped equal to false, knife equipped is equal to true, and rifle equipped is equal to false. And in this case, it's only going to be one of those things. So in this case, this is the knife equipped equal to true. Anding it all together, as you know, with the and node, these all have to be true to pass through the gate as true, otherwise we resolve as false. So that was just an easy way for me to sketch this out and basically get this to be so it's super legible. It's not pretty, and you can see that with more things we just keep growing and growing and growing. So there's got to be a way to make it a little bit more abstract, a little bit more elegant, but for now that's kind of what I did. And then so what's happening here is, as the montage goes through and you play the montage itself then has, let's go back to the third person character and open up one of these montages. You can see, well, let's open up, say, knife equipped here, and I'll open up knife equipped here, okay? So in each of these montages, you can see that at this point here, when the knife is going to be behind the back, obviously it's where it's attached to a component in the character. As soon as the animation gets to this point right here, then we trigger that this what's called an animation notify state. And so this animation notify state um, then triggers an event, which is basically a function almost like, and triggering that event then does the attaching of the component to the socket that's attached to the skeleton. So when we trigger that event, then we're going to basically fly into this animation notify state. And this animation notify state is going to then get the mesh that it's attached to, and then call this function using this interface function, attach knife to hand socket. So that's equipping, right? So attaching the knife from wherever it is, in this case it's in the holster or whatever on the back, to the hand socket. And so once it does that, we go back to here. So let's say that's equipping the knife. Let's say equipping the knife. Where are we here? The knife is down here. Let's say that's equipping a knife here, right? So when this animation montage gets to that place I just showed you in the animation itself, then it runs over here and it triggers this event. So when it triggers this event, it jumps in here. And when it jumps in here, then what it does is it takes the knife, which is attached to a component right now by default on the back, the knife holster component, and it attaches it to the hand at that moment. And then, of course, we manage our Boolean state here by saying, okay, once that happens, we can say, okay, the knife is equipped. And we can kind of store that in this Boolean here. And I have playing sounds at certain locations for certain animations on the attaching point because it just seemed to time better with the animations. It just felt better. This is definitely a kind of an aesthetic decision. It just seemed like it kind of, when it clicked into place on the hand or when it clicked into place on the holster, seemed like a better time to trigger the sound than over here at the beginning of the equip animation. So that's kind of how these are all working. So right now we have an equip with a knife and an equip with a pistol and equip with the rifle. And then we have the default unequipped everything animation set. If you look at our previous animation graph, it's kind of blending upper body poses with animation offset, and then like rotating a root bone based for the turn in place animations. The turn in place animations function is kind of a long function that is that gets us to knowing what our kind of offset is from where we started kind of calculating the offset to where we're ready to turn, kind of calculates that variance and then allows us to then turn and start turn in place animations, and then direct those turn in place animations by getting curve values in each of those animation instances. And it's a Boolean state of kind of like a metadata state of like, are we turning? The answer is kind of yes. Then get the distance curve from that animation state and drive the amount of rotation for the animation based on that animation state and where it is in the animation, and then turn the root bone of the character so that the character itself rotates, and this has to do with the way the capsule rotates as well. So we can coordinate the rotation of the character in space with the actual animation of the turn in place. So that's kind of what we had before. We had that before, and now if we go back, actually let's go back here real quick and go into our animation graph. If you look inside here, basically, then we've got kind of an idle, and inside the idle we've got these states. Transition states between each of these are managed by a set of Boolean conditions that are met to transition across one state to the next. So if we're just in rifle idle but we're not turning, when do we turn? Well, we turn when our speed is of course 0, as we're not moving because we're idle, and then our roof offset is greater than our maximum turn in place angle. So then we'll start turning. And we're not dodging and we're not falling. If all those conditions are true, then we move across this transition state. So that's just the way that animation states work. So the thing you're in and how you transition in and out of it are set by these rules. So this is what we had before because we only were using the one idle animation with the rifle, but now we have all these different weapons. We've got a whole different thing going on. So now we've got transitioning into idle. We've got our base idle state, which is itself broken out into with turn and without turn. And then we've got all the different walk run uh, um animation states based on movement. Each of these has its own transition logic. So you can see that each of these is filled with all this stuff to get in and out of these transition states. Quick note on that is, this is mostly just a note to myself for the future in a way, is that when you want to make it hard to transition into something, meaning you have to satisfy quite a few states to get into something. But so moving from one thing to the next when it comes to like within a group of states. So between all of the different walking states, you can see that you have to satisfy all of these requirements. Obviously, the primary one is that we're still moving in order to keep going within this. I'm still walking, but now I have the knife. I'm still walking or running, but I've got the pistol. I'm still walking or running, but I've got the rifle. So moving between these states, kind of, you want to make sure that you are pretty specific about what you need to satisfy to get there. So you want to have quite a few very specific rules on how to get in and out of there. But but you want to make it really easy to get from these states back out to idle. Okay, so you can see that like getting from here back to idle is satisfying. These are just leftovers. So this is just satisfying two things. So am I not dodging, and is my speed less than 1? Then I pop right out into idle. So getting in here and staying in here, you got to satisfy all the rules, but getting out should be quick, and you break out very quickly. So that's just something I learned in terms of getting these to work smoothly and transition between them without doing a bunch of glitching or wigging out in terms of figuring out, oh, am I running with a pistol, running with a knife, all that stuff. So that's something just to take a note of. And then if we go, let's go back into here and go back into here. You can see in the idle with turn, I still have it named rifle, but it's actually not. That's not quite accurate. We have a similar set of geometries in terms of states. Just we have, because we're coming in here. This is where we start. We're coming in at the top here at the entry, and we go right into nothing's equipped, right? So just fists. And then here's our turn and place animations. And again, each of these has its own set of rules to get in and out of the transitions. And then, we transition from idle to with a knife. Again, it has its own turn logics. And inside each of these, it's a simple animation. I'm using the rifle turn 9D loop because it's what I had that worked well. It looked good. The turn in place for the rifle looked really well. I should say looked really good and worked really well. And so I'm using that for the bottom half of the body in all of these. And then in here, you can see that I'm taking that as the base pose for the bottom part of the body. And I'm blending that with the pistol upper body to get to this point here. Because sometimes using the idle that came with the pistol didn't jive very well with some of the other animations. So the rifle and turn in place seemed to like do a good job of having a nice kind of wide stance that seemed combat mode like. There is a turn in place animation that I got on the Unreal Marketplace that's less combat oriented, so the legs are closer together, and it just seemed very static and not kind of in the ready for combat, so it didn't seem appropriate to this particular like application or whatever. So yes, that's basically what we're doing there. So I just wanted to give you kind of an idea about how this was all set up and how this is working. You can see why it took a bit of time, because just debugging just even these like these basic conditions was kind of a learning curve, and figuring out like when to make it hard to get into something and when to make it very easy to get in and out of these conditions was not easy. But yeah, we're there. So now we can build on this, and we can move forward with understanding like how to add more weapons, use animations we have for different weapons. So, obviously all types of rifles can use the rifle equip animation, all types of pistols can use the pistol equip, all types of knives can use the knife equip. If we would need to do other kinds of equipping things, we can look for those. I think I have grenade already, so we can do grenades and have a grenade throwing animation as well, so we can kind of implement those. But now that we have a basic thing that works here, it's pretty bulletproof. Especially this logic here is once it's done auto saving here. Just finish auto saving, but especially this, even though it's a little bit inelegant, this is really extensible because it's pretty bulletproof. Like, you can't get through these without satisfying these sets of logical kind of extensions. So, and once you do get into these, then these all kind of link together pretty seamlessly and pretty simply. So yeah, so that's where we are now. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to work on getting dodging in place next, and then from there I will work on doing primary attacks for each of the weapon types, and then we can move into doing damage applying for those primary attacks, and then we're ready to reintegrate the character with the baseline that we have with the basic AI and start building out a level and start telling the story. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.